Okay, everyone, welcome to another episode of On the Rest from Off the Cuff. Today we have another fun kind of follow-up for you guys from the brand Mitch Mason. Now, this is a kind of new brand, kind of fresh out of Kickstarter, and they released their first timepiece. And it's this really cool everyday watch, some key common characteristics and design which you're looking for an everyday watch. Of course, you're going to want that versatile blend of sporty and dressy attributes. Now, this watch is called the Chronicle, and it's their idea of the perfect daily beater. And this is actually a follow-up. I originally reviewed their prototypes, and this is the full real deal, and it has this insanely good bracelet. So I'm really happy to kind of follow up with you guys on this piece because it is pretty awesome. The addition of the bracelet for me just takes it to a whole new level, and I have just immense new appreciation for this watch. Now, a little bit about the Chronicle design. It's, again, apart from being that perfect daily beater, it's inspired by military field watches from World War II. You also, in terms of water resistance on here, the nice thing is you're getting 200 meters of water resistance, which is great. And then also you are getting a nice Miyota 9039 movement, so there's no date specifically the way it's set up, so you don't have to worry about any ghost positions or anything like that, which is also very, very nice. The knurling is definitely a little bit nicer, a little bit deeper. And also, this thing is sweet, and the AR coating is just enough, but not enough to really give it any kind of weird hues and colors, but enough in terms of kind of navigating and negotiating any really bad glare. So these actually are retailing at $4.99, but currently on sale for $4.49. If you gone on Kickstarter, you could have got it for a little bit cheaper. And this new bracelet comes in at $89. Guys, get the bracelet. If you're going to get this watch, get the bracelet. The bracelet's insane. You know I'm a bracelet guy. I'm very picky when it comes to the bracelets. This bracelet's awesome. What's crazy about this watch is it's a lot smaller than I normally get because it's only a 36.5. But you'll see that it pulls off some tricks to make it wear really, really nicely. So with all that said, let's zoom the camera out, get this piece in hand, and take a closer look. Okay, guys, well, I did want to slightly just touch on the packaging. So it comes in this nice little leather little watch roll here, branded Mitch Mason. And then you got the standard strap, which is quite nice. And then you can see the buckle is nicely done as well. It has kind of the two-tone finishing with both brushed and polished, and really beautifully done stitching. Also, you're getting quick release spring bars, which is nice. And yeah, this thing is just really well finished, and also just suits the hell out of this watch. I mean, this is kind of a dream parent. Like, this is one of those things where you search for a strap that matches this good. And yeah, you get it right out of the box, which is great. Also, a really nice kind of rubber tropic strap style, matching buckle as well, also signed. Pretty supple from that standpoint, not quick release. And maybe just a touch short when I look at that. But it comes in there as well. Very, very nice. Yeah, and then basically I kept the extra links in here. You can see kind of a cool place for them. Bam. So I'll go ahead and get that off camera here for you guys and get down to the main event. Ooh, yeah. So I'm more of like a 38 millimeter guy, to be perfectly honest. That's kind of my comfort zone. But what you have here is a 36.5, but because of these really wide, broad shoulders, it is going to have a little bit more wrist presence than you would think. Also, just the general angular design and everything, I think it does a good job of kind of maximizing. Plus, you get this amazing, look at that vertical brushing on the dial. It just catches light in so many different ways. You get little hints of green in there as well. And you can see it can black out, blue, and then just highlights and gets into kind of this aqua color. Really, really nice. So this is actually 13.5 millimeters thick, or you could call it 12 millimeters without that crystal, but the crystal does protrude quite a bit. The nice thing is it doesn't seem that thick, honestly, because they pulled some Grand Seiko moves on here and gave it really, really pronounced upper and lower beveling, and then you still have that strip across in terms of the brushing. Now, is it to Grand Seiko level of finish there? No, it's not. Come on, guys. What do you think? Come on. It's not going to be for $449. But man, is it nice and impressive? Absolutely. Is this an impressively finished watch for under $500? Absolutely. Is it an impressive finished watch if it costed $750? Yes, I think it still would be quite impressive, especially once you put it on this bracelet. One thing I will say, some of you are looking at this bracelet and going, "Oh man, why did they do a male end link?" I'm actually not mad at this style. As you can see, they were actually quite thoughtful, and they made sure that the little piece that protrudes drops down quite a bit, and only steps out from the case ever so slightly. So it's not going to, as you can see here, I mean, unless you have some really small wrist. And also, this has a minuscule lug to lug. It's only 43.5 millimeters lug to lug. So having this little outstep isn't taking it much larger at all, and honestly, I think it looks and flows really, really well with the case, which overall is going to be one of the deciding factors. Look at the way the light hits this thing. Dark dial, bright dial, dark dial, bright dial. I'm just digging that. Okay, enough of that. So, double dome sapphire, 5 layers of AR coating. We do have, of course, that nice highly polished and fixed bezel. And I think the proportions when it comes to dial to bezel ratio, I think are really nicely done. Inside here, you cannot see, but it has a really nicely done case back there, which is pretty cool. So no display, but inside is, of course, a no date 9039 Miyota movement. Definitely does the job. And then in terms of, oh, and of course nicely etched on that case back. But in terms of the dial, hands and loom here, really beautifully done. As you can see, we do have that brushed blue sandwich dial. We also do have polished hands. Yeah, Swiss Super Luminova, and it glows green, guys. It has 200 meters of water resistance, which is great. Screw down crown, also signed screw down crown, as you can see there. Very nice. Got the MM. Man, this thing is just, it's just a great looking watch. I mean, ooh, I like that it says first edition. Also, that's a nice touch. 20 bar. I mean, for a watch like this, it really has its sights set on that Baby Alpinist. What's crazy thing is, this was kind of dreamt up before the Baby Alpinist was released. But man, is it comparable? It is only a hair smaller. So if the Baby Alpinist is still a bit big for your wrist, try this bad boy on. Or if you just want something that feels a little bit more refined and a little bit just fancier, then this could be for you as well. Because man, this is just, I actually chose to wear this today over my Baby Alpinist on bracelet, just because this just gave me a little bit more of a special wear. It was, yeah, I guess that's the best words for it. It just felt more special on the wrist, ultimately. Now, with that 200 meters water resistance, that's great. Also, you are getting a 20 millimeter lug width here, so this thing will be quite a strap monster. But this stainless steel bracelet is insane. It's fully solid and everything like that. There's nothing hollow here. You're getting really beautifully brushed and high polished bevels there all along the way to catch the light. Really well articulated H-links, as you can see. Beautifully done. Comes down to a nice thin milled clasp, and again, no crazy tricks here, but it does its job. It does exactly what it needs to do. You got the push button double locking clasp there. We have all these holes for different micro adjustments, so you can really dial it in, something that the Baby Alpinist does not have, unless you put it on an aftermarket bracelet. But yeah, something definitely to note. Yeah, man, this thing is sweet. Also screw in connecting pins, which is what the people want. So can't get mad at that. And yeah, this thing is sweet. Look at I love the beveling. The bevel game is strong here, guys. Look at that. Just goes, flows, comes all the way around, hits the top of the case, underneath of the case. I mean, it's a good looking watch. So let's go ahead and get this on wrist and see how it wears. All right, guys. This is honestly probably like the smallest round watch that I will be comfortable wearing at 36.5. It's just, it has a nice wrist presence on it. And it uses tricks to make it have more wrist presence. You can see that nice dramatic taper on the bracelet going down. It really helps kind of make the watch head appear a little bit larger visually. Also, the color play I think helps as well. But on my 7¼ inch wrist, this is about as small as it's gonna get. And even up close, you can see some lens distortion, which typically make a watch look quite oversized. It still doesn't look too shabby there, but when you get a little bit better perspective, you can see it sits on the wrist really, really well. And those nice bevels look good, but they also help in terms of, you know, how comfortable this is and how it's going to ride on the wrist. You can see there, look at that. You would never guess that this is a 13.5mm watch. And a lot of that is because that crystal does disappear. So really you're thinking 12mm. And then out of those 12mm, because of the sides of this case being so well manicured and tapered and tucked and polished just to disappear on the wrist, it just works. It comes through really, man, look at the way the light comes off of this brushing, man. It's just insane what companies can do for the money these days. This fit and finish is really just something special, guys. As much as I think that this dial and handset is just fun and quirky, this case and bracelet is it's something truly, truly special. And then you add to that, it has a really original aesthetic design from the dial and handset standpoint. And you just have something that you don't always get in this price point. It's easy to get high spec these days. It's even starting to become easier to get you know, good execution as well and good QC. But one thing that is still you have to hunt for is design. And man, I feel like the design here, just everything lines up, comes together. This thing looks great, guys. Let me know. Does it look too small? No, it doesn't look too big. And if it does, it's purely some type of weird camera angle thing. Because honestly, you put my whole arm in there, it definitely starts feeling a bit small. Open the hand up. But yeah, it works for me. I'm not feeling bad about this size, especially on the bracelet. I think that little step on the end link even helps kind of elongate the watch ever so slightly visually, probably more than it does physically, to actually make it feel a bit bigger. I'm more comfortable with it on the bracelet than I am with it on those beautiful straps, although they do suit the watch. I think on the wrist, the bracelet is definitely the way to go. But let's go ahead, set up some lume shots, low light transition, and closing thoughts. Okay, we'll go ahead and hit the lights here. As you can see, that lume is glowing and showing. It looks great, and it's you know, it's quite, I think, its own thing, and very, very stylish from that standpoint. But one thing I also like to do is when I'm doing these lume shots is work in some low light transition, because you're not always going to be out in the middle of a field enjoying direct sunlight. A lot of times you're going to be coming in and out of a building. Oh, ooh, look at the way the dial is catching this light ever so slightly. That brushing, that's just bringing out a whole nother dimension. Sorry, I get a little crazy during these low light transitions, because you might spend some time, like I was saying, you might not always be out in the middle of a field getting direct sunlight, which is what my studio lights do a really good job of simulating. A lot of times you might be, maybe just spending some time in your favorite vehicle or walking underneath the shade of a tree. Look at that dial, that brushing, that vertical grain is amazing. And then even if I get into some harsher lighting conditions here, which will typically expose any type of imperfections, you can see that the brushing on this bracelet on these links is very, very nice. And holy cow, that dial just catches the light in such a special way. It's like black dial, blue. And then you can get a little bit of a gradation there, even transition, which is really beautiful. So digging that. Look at this. If you can just swallow up that light. Oh man, look at that. That's tasty. Woo, okay. Oh man, look at that. Even with the if I can get this going, you can see even at this angle, because the light isn't hitting the dial, it appears so much darker. And it's just a matter of the angle of light. This looks almost like a black dial, midnight blue, if you will. We'll go ahead and leave it here, and we'll get into some closing thoughts, guys. On the wrist, I think it wears a lot more similar to a 38 due to the wider shoulders on the lugs. Also, the dial spacing helps out, so that it doesn't really appear overly small, because I think they were really smart with what they did within the dial there in the handset, which is very nice. Model variants, you do have, of course, the steel blue as seen. There's also a jet black dial, desert sand, and a field gray. Because in terms of comparable models, the Baby Prospex Alpinist, very similar vein, 200 meters water resistance. You can get it on strap, on bracelets. It even has a similar kind of, there's numerals, there's a little bit of patina, there's some gradation there. It's definitely a very similar value proposition, except this is much cheaper and it has a higher beat tick on it. So you're going to get 4 hertz versus 3 hertz, so which is going to be 8 ticks a second versus 6 ticks a second. So that's also very nice, and also it is cheaper. I mean, at $450, that's a lot cheaper than you're going to be able to get a Baby Alpinist for. And I have one and I love it. Does it mean that this watch can't be good? No, I think it's quite comparable in terms of, I guess if I really want to get down to the bottom line here, this is a really impressive and versatile little everyday field watch. And I think it's for those with if you have an eye for quality, but also enjoy kind of a vintage aesthetic, you're going to enjoy this one, especially if you can appreciate a fit and finish done to a very high level. I know sometimes that can get lost on a tool watch, but here I think in that everyday vibe, it makes it a little bit easier for you to kind of appreciate. Yeah, I mean, honestly, if this had like an SW200 or a 2892, I could easily see it fetching upwards of $1,200. Just because with, I think, a different movement, this same setup and the case and bracelet would still be as impressive, honestly, within that price point. So this case and bracelet could be, like I said, they could be on $1,000 watch. It's only not on $1,000 watch because this is a new company, and the movement inside is rather pedestrian, but it's thin. It's thin. It does the job. There are no complaints. Actually, it looks like there's a little speck of dust. Let me just... Okay. That was probably bothering some of you. Not anymore. So, with that said, guys, this thing is just a great gentleman's adventure watch. It's perfect for that. Although, when I first saw this, I didn't equate it at all, really, to an Explorer. On the bracelet, it hits a lot of those same notes, especially when I start thinking about the size, about that 36.5. Yeah, it does, especially, and then you add the extra water resistant too. Like, this thing is firing on all cylinders. I'm really, really digging it. So really well done to the team at Mitch Mason. Thanks guys for sending this piece over. Especially this bracelet is amazing. I really did have a good time with the prototypes. They were really great and handsome, felt great, all that. But this all together and kind of in the real, in the flesh, in the metal, I gotta say it's just something special. It does something a little bit different for me, and in a totally good way. So with that said, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you like the video, please do a like, and if you haven't already, please do subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.